Hello people, it's time for the NASCO Moments radio talk show. We are very excited to be back, and for those of you who missed the earlier introduction, this is the NASCO Moments radio talk show brought to you by NASCO, providing the quality life. For 13 weeks, we delivered week after week of highly engaging discussions which resonated with audiences within and around the city of Jos. By the end of last season, we had some listeners call in to inquire about the future of the show, and we promised to be back in a very short time. This is a fulfillment of that promise, and for that we'd like to thank our sponsors, NASCO, for their unwavering commitment to keep this program on air. This is Season 2 of the NASCO Moments radio talk show, and I am still your host, Hudun Gang. Once more, I'll bring you up close with the issues Saturdays at 11 a.m. Make sure you tune in. For fans of the NASCO trivia, you have a lot to look out for this season. Every week, we will bring you one question, which gives you the opportunity to win a lovely gift pack, courtesy of our good friends from NASCO. Don't be left out. We've got to pay some bills, but we'll be right back. Make sure you stay tuned.
NASCO Cube Sugar is your favorite choice sweetener made from natural sugarcane. It is a sweet flavor and provides energy. It can be used in tea, coffee, pap, cornflakes, and a variety of beverages. NASCO Cube Sugar can be taken by anyone at any time of the day. NASCO Cube Sugar is fortified with vitamin A and liquefies very fast. NASCO Cube Sugar. For that sweet taste.
NASCO Cube Sugar for that sweet taste.
NASCO Cube Sugar, another quality product from NASCO.
Welcome back to the NASCO Moments radio talk show, connecting audiences within and around the city of Jos. And just as I had announced earlier, this is the very first episode of Season 2. And as always, our goal is to motivate you, to educate you, to help you discover and understand your environment just a little more than you already do. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. Today's discussion will focus on Nigeria, given the fact that we have just marked another anniversary. Here to discuss the subject is someone who is very well known in the public domain. He is a lawyer, a public affairs advocate, a public relations consultant, and media relations expert, among many other titles. He also runs a successful marketing communications company in Jos. Mr. Harun Audu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hudun. Good morning, listener. It's good to be here on NASCO Moments show. It's also good to be alive and celebrating Nigeria at 54. I think it's a milestone. What's and all, what's talking about.
Yeah, for some time now, we've been trying to get you on the show, given the role you played in birthing it. I guess the fact that we have been able to drag you into the studio today in this season of our independence anniversary shows that you are a patriot. Interestingly, you are just about as old as Nigeria.
Yes,
what better way to start the second season than to have you here with us?
Yes, Nigeria is perhaps by its independence age 2 years older than I am.
Okay.
That puts me smack at 52 come 15 December this year. So this is an announcement to my friends. Prepare the presents and let them start rolling in. But yes, it's such a pleasure to know that one shares this situation with Nigeria, that I'm slightly younger. And therefore able to connect with quite a lot of things that have happened.
And that happened back then.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to hearing all that. So Nigeria is 54, we've said. The white-green flag was hoisted upon numerous poles nationwide and all across the world where you have Nigerians. It is supposed to be a time of celebration. But more and more, it seems Nigerians aren't keen to celebrate our Independence Day. At the helm of Nigeria's affairs, what we've heard repeatedly in recent times, particularly from the center, is that the Independence Day anniversary is a time for sober reflections. And rightly so. As of today, some 200 girls taken from Chibok 173 days ago still remain with their abductors. Politics is still bitter and polarizing. youth unemployment is still over 50% despite the 2 million jobs supposedly created. Industrial strikes still loom on the horizon. Students' performance in WAEC continues to downward slide amidst deeply entrenched exam malpractice, and the list goes on. These are indeed times for sober reflection. What do you think?
Truly, we need to really stop and pause as a country. I had made this contribution 2 days ago when I had cause to participate in the radio show in Abuja on Independence Day morning. And truly, I guess we need to just stop in our tracks as a country, particularly those of us vested with the responsibility to superintend over affairs, whether in the public sector or in the private sector, and ask ourselves, where did we miss it? Because so much has gone wrong, but the most disturbing aspect of it all is the fact that we will rather pretend, play the ostrich, that all is well. You see that attitude in the tendency by leaders and followers in critical sectors of the economy being totally sycophantic, totally refusing to admit that yes, we may have missed the course and we need to change tack.
And a few days ago, just briefly, 300 Nigerians received national honors, and people are beginning to think that some of the awardees are less than meritorious. Is that a reflection of the quality of the pool of Nigerians today? What would we say?
Again, I mean, that connects very vividly for me with what I had referred to as playing the ostrich as a country. I mean, imagine that there is an insurgency going on now. I mean, terrorists, fundamentalist religious terrorists wreaking havoc in parts of Nigeria. They have not only restricted the northeast region, but have visited us in Jos, visited cities in the north, including the federal capital.
Several times.
And our law enforcement, particularly the army, the joint task forces, are the ones engaged in this, and there have been so many casualties. I would imagine that in a year that's been riddled with this level of destruction of lives and property, that someone in government would stop and say, look, we need to, even if posthumously, dedicate the 2014 National Merit Awards to such fallen soldiers. But there's not a mention of a single one of them. Again, for me, a collapse of values. It reflects the fact that as a country, we still haven't gotten our priorities right, because if we need to mobilize popular and national sentiment around what is our soul as a character, as a people, then we need to begin to make the right sound bites. I mean, identify crucial institutions and individuals such as our armed forces and recognize the work they're doing, rather than the list that we have seen.
There's so much to be done.
Exactly,
obviously.
the list we have seen suggests that we're not really thinking in that direction.
Okay, we have been talking to Mr. Harun Audu, public affairs advocate, analyst, and strategist. We'll take another commercial. Stay right where you are.
Brightex white detergent, Brightex. Brightex white detergent, Brightex. For your brightest wash, Brightex. For your brightest wash, Brightex.
Ever since I discovered the secret of Brightex white detergent, my clothes come fresh, bright and clean always. It's mild on clothes and good for my washing machine. Thank you, Brightex.
Brightex detergent cleans deep stains and dirt from your clothes, keeping it fresh and bright so your clothes don't fade. It lasts longer. Brightex white detergent, a quality product from NASCO. Take the Brightex advantage today and keep your clothes fresh, bright and clean.
For your brightest wash, Brightex.
Brightex, for the brightest wash.
Thanks for staying with us. This is the NASCO Moments radio talk show. Today we are discussing Nigeria at 54, and our guest on the show is Mr. Harun Audu, Managing Director, Unimark Limited, a marketing communications consultancy here in Jos. Still on the subject of how far we have come as a nation, we are currently faced with both ideological and environmental challenges. For instance, the Minister of Environment has identified the critical need for national environmental statistics. This is something that has been ignored for the longest time. But anyone even vaguely in touch with global trends would have observed that the world is not what it was even 10 years ago. There is a global environmental crisis which affects land, water, and air. Nigeria, as it is, has no central system for the collation of data on erosion sites, areas affected by oil spillage, rate of desertification, forest cover, and so forth. So not only are we challenged by degrading human conditions, we are slowly being overtaken by environmental degradation, and we lack a system which can accurately track and provide useful data to solve these problems. We have the Ecological Fund. We have a template and a framework from the UN on environmental statistics. You were recently involved in a tree planting campaign in Jigawa State. I am sure we can draw parallels between our ideological and environmental challenges.
Oh yes, we can, because well, let me take it back to Jigawa State. We had cause to visit Jigawa State in the last week of August, and the governor of the state, Sule Lamido, led the initiative to welcome us as an entire group, whereby we were offered the opportunity to participate in the tree planting campaign. And by the way, those who know Dutse, the capital of Jigawa State, barely 15 years ago, will be shocked at what's happened to it in terms of reclaiming the environment, planting of trees, greening the environment. Indeed, what the Jigawa State government is doing is essentially in accord with what's called the Green Wall Initiative. And I dare add that here in Plateau State, while private sector groups like NASCO Group are committed to greening the environment, looking at how they maintain their own facilities, including their staff housing estates, we have seen instead on the part of government a reversal. And that is very apparent by the way the management of Jos Metropolitan Development Board, for example, has allowed the indiscriminate felling of trees to occur within the city center. And like you rightly observed, these practices, these unhealthy practices, have a direct impact on the environment. Just check it out. People perhaps are unable to connect with this, but the fact that it rains in Jos heavily overnight, and by the next day at 12 noon it's very hot, should pass a statement, should make a statement, and a huge one at that, to our people, that we are not really looking after the environment. And when you make the point about an ideological connection, it is indeed true that it requires a temperament and a disposition on the part of the leader to consciously determine that this is an aspect of public sector governance that I should engage and ensure that it is delivered. We have not seen that. So the ideological disposition of the government as far as environmental issues are concerned leaves a lot to be desired. And if we take a cue from the deliberate corporate policy of NASCO Group, for example, in investing in the environment, in greening the environment, and if this becomes a template for the local governments, starting with Jos North, the greater Jos that we keep speaking about, then we can make some progress. But as it is, we're in danger of exposing, in fact, already we have exposed ourselves to the elements, because we don't seem to have a coherent and cohesive ideological position as regards how we should tackle the environment.
Well, so many times I've seen on radio from the Ministry of Environment donating trees for people to plant, and even some members of the House of Assembly. What more should we do?
Indeed, these are, for me, these are like a drop in the ocean. We spoke about the absence of an ideological platform to drive this initiative. What we have seen are tokenist approaches. What we expect is some kind of a strategy which will evolve year in, year out, and then within the time frame of, say, 4 years in the public office, which is the threshold for our democratic cycle, that a lot will have been done. Check it out. There is no known park in Jos where people can go and really excite themselves as family and so on. I mean, public parks, they're not there. There is no investment on the part of the Ministry of Environment to return Jos to where we knew it to be. Like we started, as stated at the beginning of this program, I'm a 60s baby. So I know what happened in Jos in the 70s when we had a certain J.D. Gomwok investing in parks, in strategic locations, in the planting of trees, and making sure drainages and public utilities function well. But we've lost all of that.
We need to go back to that.
Yeah, what did he do differently? And it took a conscious ideological investment for this to happen.
Well, it's not all bad news. Yeah. All of a sudden, Nigeria has received international commendation for the successful containment of the Ebola virus disease. And it means that there are some things that we do get right. And I understand that a columnist in one of the popular dailies drew some parallels between our successful containment of EVD and an inherent capacity we possess to solve some, if not all, of our problems. So we can do some things right.
We can. Let's not all sound bleak. I mean, the preponderance of opinion is that given our endowments, natural resource endowments, the human resource capacity, debatable if you ask me, that indeed we've got our acts together, we can make Nigeria to perform and function and deliver on the basis of what is available as our Commonwealth a lot better than it is doing. The challenge is what is being done by those who have responsibility to deliver, or better still to drive the public governance space. I think that there are huge question marks, and if we want to be honest with ourselves, it's because we have put our worst foot forward. We have put our worst 11. Repeatedly, the public administration space is dominated by our worst 11 in many instances, not by our best 11. And we do have a best 11 that we can put forward and deliver across the governance space.
Well, we know that we always have the potential. We just need to, like you said, put our best foot forward. Once again, this is the NASCO Moments radio talk show. We'll be going into the final segment of today's show. But before that, we will take another commercial break. For those of you who are familiar with this show, you know that the third segment gives you the opportunity to participate in the NASCO trivia. I'm sure you don't want to miss that. The NASCO Moments radio show continues shortly.
Whatever flavor you may need, NASCO quality biscuits. So crunchy and so creamy. NASCO quality biscuits. It's oven fresh and tasty for the young and everybody. Take a bite and get the feeling that you get what you need. For everybody, take it everywhere you go. Grab the taste of quality. Everybody say NASCO. For everybody, whatever flavor you may need, take it everywhere you go. Everybody say NASCO.
Get a range from NASCO biscuits today. NASCO cream biscuits, NASCO shortcake biscuits, NASCO cream crackers, NASCO biscuits, the king of biscuits.
My Nigeria, I like Nigeria. Nigeria, one is one for you. Oh, yeah. Get up Nigeria, wake up Nigeria. Nigeria, my Nigeria people where you dey, arise. Anywhere where you dey, arise. Show them say you know they shake, arise. Tell them say now we dey reign, arise. See we no go break, arise. It go better, you no go day, arise. Now we go show them the way, arise. Show them say you believe in Nigeria. And strength and faith. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. I love my fatherland, Nigeria, you my dog. Oh, when I child, oh, I just got so about Kabilaruga. Oh, when I child, oh, I just got so about Kabilaruga. My Nigeria people, where you dey? Anywhere where you dey? Show them say you know they shake. Tell them say now we dey reign. 100%. I'ma make you no relent.
Welcome back to the show. If you have just joined us, this is the NASCO Moments radio talk show, and you're just in time to participate in the NASCO trivia. In a moment, I'll ask a question, and all you have to do is text us the correct answer. This is text-only trivia, which means you can only respond via text message, and I will give you the number to send your text messages to shortly. NASCO recently introduced a new packaging for one of its most favorite products. The question is, what is this product? And describe the main features of this packaging. I'll ask again. NASCO recently introduced a new packaging for one of its most favorite products. What is this product? And describe the main features of this packaging. Text your answer to 0805 774 7777. The number again is 0805 774 7777. Don't forget to include your name and address when you send your answer. And please note that this competition is not open to NASCO staff and their relatives. So this is the final segment of the show, and we have been talking to Mr. Harun Audu, a public affairs advocate and strategist. Here is an anonymous suggestion. At 54, leadership roles in terms of public service in Nigeria should be restricted to persons 54 and under. What do you make of this? Is it widely applicable, or do we still need to mix it up, the younger generation working with the old?
You know, my knee-jerk reaction is to say, look, let's condemn all the older generation and put them aside. Let's have a younger set of people driving affairs in this country. And the reasons, I could cite reasons 20, 30, perhaps even more, because the failures that have visited just about every sector of our economy can be rooted with the inability of leadership of a particular age group to live up to the challenge of leadership, which is about the force of personal example. But again, I'm glad that you also recognize that usually you require the mix. But if you look at what's going on in the global trend is for younger elements. I was discussing yesterday with my co-producer on this program, and we said Italy, for example, the current Prime Minister of Italy is 39 years old. And how old is David Cameron? How old is the guy in France? Miliband, who is standing in the wings to succeed David Cameron, how old is he? They're in the 30s. And these are people who have been adequately prepared to actually take leadership responsibilities. There was a time in this country, in the 60s, when the average age for being in government, either as a governor or head of state, was 33, 34. General Yakubu Gowon, a decent old man, was there at 32. So, indeed, and we saw what these younger people were able to do with the mandate given to them. And so there is a correlation between the ability, between your age, depending on how prepared how you've been prepared to take up leadership responsibility to actually deliver on good governance.
So the point now is that we should prepare.
We should, people. Because I was just going to address the fact that it is important that we invest in preparing our young for leadership responsibilities.
Okay.
Many have been given these responsibilities thus far.
But they're not ready.
They are not ready, and therefore you see the outcome has been very poor.
Okay, if you were to draw up a scorecard which evaluates Nigeria today from the time of our independence, how will you assess, say, leadership? Are we progressing at a standstill, or are we regressing?
I refer to the absence of the force of personal example in leadership. And this is a dominant situation right across the country, where in leadership in this country, majority do not live by example, and therefore there's been so much failure across the board.
What about science?
Isolated stars here and there, but we could do better.
Science and technology.
Science and technology, we're still struggling. There's no two ways about the fact that we have been unable to breach town and gown, in the sense that the kind of research that should occur in the university should be seen to play out in the public space, in manufacturing, in industry. And so science and technology, I think that in Nigeria we're still tottering.
What about the economy and the business environment?
We do know that the economy itself is still in the woods. I know it's been rebased recently, But when you look at it per capita, we know that close to 60, 70, perhaps even more percent of Nigerians live below the poverty level. So
it means virtually nothing to us.
So it's nothing to us.
Nationalism across ethnicities and geographies.
It's still a cancer. The quest for public office in this country, for example, is couched along either religious or ethnic terms. It's got nothing to do with merit or integrity or performance or competence. And this has become, again, a dominant feature in our democracy, where people who angle for office will first of all want to be identified as ethnic champions or religious champions. So
let's move on now to rule of law.
Yeah. Again, impunity seems to be the dominant factor, where from the topmost to the lowest, people conduct their affairs in the public domain with so much disrespect for the rule of law. So we have that problem, impunity.
Okay, and then finally, our ability to survive any crisis that we face or will face in the future.
I think we're resilient people. It's been said, a research or something somewhere did indicate that Nigerians are one of the happiest people in the world. For me, I think it's a minus that in spite of our huge challenges, we're taught to be happy. It's almost like being fatalistic.
It's like
so we're resilient, but I think
smiling.
but we need to do something about it. We must rise up to the occasion and challenge impunity and misgovernance and failure in governance and a lack of integrity. We must be able to speak about these things in order to better our country.
2015 is just around the corner, an election year. What is your hope for Nigeria at 54 as we journey forward?
Well, Nigeria, my senior brother, I think that there's a lot more that needs to be done, especially in the manner we recruit leaderships and prepare people for leadership. 2015, like you said, is around the corner. Look around the terrain. What do you have? You do get the sense that people are sold on the idea of a godfather endorsing a candidate, rather than people come out and actually speak to us about what they are putting on the table in terms of their ability to lead, to provide leadership. So 2015, for me, truly, I have not been such a big fan of the conduct of our politicians, but I hope that we can get it right.
All right. We can only hope for the best. Today we've been discussing Nigeria at 54, and our guest has been Mr. Harun Audu. Thank you very much for being on the first show for this season.
I really appreciate it, because you see, when we thought about this program in the first place and NASCO was willing to run with it, we thought that it will enable people in Plateau State to connect to the NASCO ideal about providing the quality life. And we want to throw a challenge out there that when you look at it, and this is indisputable, NASCO remains the biggest employer of private sector employer of labor, the biggest contributor to internal generated revenue, and so many other things. So we're glad that we're able to do this with NASCO, and it's good to come from behind the scene and be in the hot seat this morning.
Thank you very much. The fight against the Ebola virus disease has been successful. However, we continue to urge you to observe the basic preventive measures such as washing your hands under running water with bleach or soap. We each have a responsibility to do so. It's been a very interesting first episode, and we thank you for listening. Before we come your way again next week, stay in touch with your favorite household brand. Visit www.nasco.net and follow NASCO on @NASCO Group. The NASCO Moments show has been brought to you by NASCO, and it was created by Unimark Limited Marketing Communication Consultants. Executive producers, NASCO Marketing Department. Producers, Harun Audu and Joshua Tongman. I am your host, Hudun Gyang. NASCO, providing the quality life.